Hello, and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. So, what's the deal with an intelligent God? Intelligent God. Uh, how do we know God is intelligent? You could argue that uh, why not just a random decision maker instead of an intelligent God? Now, when it comes to randomness, uh, people are usually referring to some sort of material process that appears to generate random data. Uh, that's not what I'm talking about. Those sorts of apparently random processes, they're material processes, and all material processes are subject to time. And when you're talking about God, or you're talking about the metaphysical cause of material reality, you're talking about something that is outside of time or not subject to time. So any sort of process that's material is subject to time and therefore cannot be the metaphysical cause for material reality. But as an analogy, we can think about this question of randomness versus intelligence. You know, what's the opposite of an intelligent uh, decision? Well, a random decision would really be the opposite of that. So, how do you know that God is intelligent as opposed to simple, like a random decision maker? Um, well, when you talk about randomness, you have to understand that randomness is, in a material sense, uh, always based on a complicated system that is so complicated that it appears to be unpredictable and random. But it's nonetheless based on a complicated system, just like, let's say, the stock market. Why does the stock market go up or go down in value? Uh, it's because of an extremely complicated system of intelligent beings and computers making decisions to buy and sell based on what knowledge they have available and what the other beings and computers are doing at the time. That's a highly complicated and extremely unpredictable system, and the results appear to be random. So if you look at the stock market, the Dow Jones average, it goes up and down, and it seems to be completely random what it does. What does it decide to go up? What does it decide to go down? It's very, very difficult to predict what it's going to do. But it is nonetheless based on a sophisticated system. So the first thing to understand is randomness itself, pure randomness, doesn't exist. It's an impossibility. What you're really talking about is you're talking about a highly complicated system creating random outputs that are seemingly unpredictable. That's what randomness means. So, as an analogy, um, in a material sense, when you're talking about randomness, you're still talking about a complicated system that generates this apparently random data. Uh, and when you're talking about intelligence in a material sense, you're talking about a human brain, and a human brain is also a system. It's a material system. It's contained within the brain, and it is extremely complicated. And that extreme complication is what gives rise to consciousness, human consciousness. So it's also a system, though. It's an extremely complicated system. It's far more complicated than the stock market, but it's still a system. So ultimately, as an analogy, the question about is God intelligent, or why does God have to be intelligent? It's really just a question of, well, how sophisticated does the metaphysical cause of material reality have to be? Um, Now, I know, this is what I'm talking about is an analogy. The metaphysical reality is not one made of matter or energy or parts like a computer would be or like a brain would be. So we're talking about something very mysterious here. There's no way for me to explain uh, how it works. There's no way to even comprehend it. But so I'm giving you an analogy to discuss the metaphysical reality in terms of the physical reality of a sophisticated system that could either give rise to randomness or intelligence. If it's far more sophisticated, could be intelligence. So, what we're really talking about is, well, how sophisticated a system does this metaphysical cause have to be? And if you think about it, there's really no reason why the metaphysical system couldn't be, you know, in an analogous term, sophisticated enough to present an intelligent God or intelligent metaphysical cause, as opposed to purely a random metaphysical cause. There's no reason why it would have to be less sophisticated and be random as opposed to intelligent. Um, there's intelligence occurs on Earth in the human mind and in consciousness of animals. So there's no reason to think that that's an impossibility in a metaphysical sense. I mean, if you're going to say, well, it could be random. Well, you could just as easily say, well, it's more sophisticated than that, and it's in fact intelligent. There's nothing wrong with that statement. There's nothing impossible about that. So, how do we know God is intelligent? So, the first thing to understand is an intelligent God is certainly as rational as a purely random metaphysical cause. Now, so why why should God be intelligent as opposed to just random? Even though God could easily be intelligent, there's no rational reason why he'd have to be random, or a metaphysical cause would have to be random. Uh, so we get back to the dichotomy of existence, which I've already done a couple of videos. And this is an important metaphysical concept to understand. And it addresses seemingly impossible questions. Um, so to refresh your memory as to what the dichotomy of existence is, the dichotomy of existence is a metaphysical dichotomy between everythingness and absolute nothingness. So there exists this dichotomy in a metaphysical sense between two uncaused things, one being everythingness, and the other being absolute nothingness. But it's a dichotomy, so these are mutually exclusive um, possibilities that exclude that cover all possibilities for reality. Uh, and it just so happens to be the case that we're in the everythingness side of this dichotomy, and absolute nothingness is merely a theoretical concept, an abstract concept that will never actually occur. But in the everythingness side, uh, it needs a gatekeeper. Something has to decide uh, what is made real out of the infinite possibilities for material reality that are contained in everythingness. So this requires God, or at least a metaphysical cause for deciding what becomes real in a material sense. So everythingness is God. It is God, or it is this metaphysical cause, because this metaphysical cause has the power and the capacity to decide what becomes real in the realm of everythingness, or everything that's possible, all the infinite things that are logically possible. So this requires a metaphysical cause. So you have to have a metaphysical cause for material reality. You have to have something that decides what becomes real and what does not become real in a material sense. Now, this metaphysical cause is God. But how do you know it's intelligent? Right? Could be just a random metaphysical cause. So how do you know it's intelligent, God? And not a random metaphysical cause? Well, because everythingness itself requires the full expression of everything that is logically possible. That's what everythingness is. So everythingness answers the question, well, why is this thing real and that thing not? And the answer is, well, because it includes everything that could possibly be, but there is a gatekeeper that has decided what becomes real and what does not become real out of uh, the infinite possibilities for material reality. So everythingness has to include everything that's logically possible. Everythingness doesn't include things that are not logically possible, things that are irrational, things that are incoherent. Such things are not included in everythingness because they are impossibilities. An impossibility is not included in everythingness. Everythingness only includes all things that are possible through a gatekeeper. So the full expression of everythingness would include everything that is logically possible. Now, the question is God logically possible? Is an intelligent metaphysical cause logically possible? Because if it is, then that has to be the case in everything, because it includes everything that is logically possible. So, if an intelligent God or an intelligent metaphysical cause is logically possible, then that must be the case. It can't be randomness, because randomness is less than a full expression of everythingness. You can look at it this way: an intelligent God is capable of creating things in a random fashion if he so chooses. But an intelligent God can also create things in a guided fashion according to his will and nature if he so chooses. Whereas a purely random metaphysical cause, it can only do things randomly. It can't. It doesn't have a will in nature. It doesn't. It doesn't have the capacity to make guided decisions based on its will and nature. So, a random metaphysical cause is less of an expression of everythingness than an intelligent God is. So, if an intelligent God is logically possible and not incoherent, then everythingness would demand that God be intelligent, or that this metaphysical cause uh, for material reality be intelligent. So, is an intelligent metaphysical cause of reality, is that logically possible? And the answer is yes, of course it is. It's logically possible in an analogous sense in material reality because our brains prove it. And you're really just talking about, in essence, how sophisticated a metaphysical system there is that makes decisions about what to make real and what not to make real. So certainly the brain proves that an intelligent, more sophisticated metaphysical system is completely rational and coherent. There's nothing impossible about that. There's nothing illogical about that possibility. So everythingness requires an intelligent God because an intelligent God is a fuller expression of everythingness than purely a random metaphysical cause would be, which would be less of an expression of everything. Therefore, an intelligent God must exist due to the dichotomy of existence. Um, so there you have it. The metaphysical cause of material reality must be intelligent because that's it. That's the greatest expression, the fullest expression of everythingness under the dichotomy of existence. And there's nothing illogical or irrational or incoherent about an intelligent God that would suggest that it could not occur in everythingness. In fact, because we know intelligence does in fact occur in the material sense, there's no reason to think that that would for some reason be irrational or incoherent in the metaphysical uh, realm. Even though the metaphysical, the metaphysical cause is obviously mysterious and unknown, nevertheless, there's no reason to think that an intelligent metaphysical cause is impossible or is irrational. Quite to the contrary, uh, it is rational, possible. We're living proof of that because of the dichotomy of existence and the demands of everythingness. That metaphysical cause must express the fullness of everythingness, including everything that is possible. And a more sophisticated system of an intelligent God uh, would is demanded by everythingness, and it can't be a random metaphysical cause. All right, I hope you enjoyed that explanation. I know that's a mouthful and a lot to understand, but you can always look at this video again until you understand it. Uh, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Please press the like button. I appreciate it. Take care.